Alright, you guys, I'm out here with my lovely foam roller on this lovely, probably going to be raining soon day. As you guys saw, probably if you are in the groups or the chat room or the Facebook group, you guys saw that I put out some homework, which is for you guys to go through the list that I posted and see what you guys remember and see if you remember how to do it. So to kind of complement that, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do a video where we go through everything that's on that list. I'm not going to go into pretty much any detail on anything. I just kind of want you guys to see what things were so I can remind you. So if you guys are struggling with that list, you guys can go through this video and be like, okay, there's that. Pause the video and go through and see what you remember about that particular technique. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with our warm-ups. So remember, the first warm-up that we have is just a straight back roll. Then we're going to clear a path over our neck and touch. Touch. Next we go heels up, straight line. Then we go triangle to the right, triangle to the left. One heel in, one heel out. Other side. Then we can start to rise up if we want to. We can switch these guys. Step through. Get into this combat base, right? And I don't remember if I added this one, but we're here, rolling over to the side, getting a little bit of that flexibility within our back and all that. Then we can get our feet close to our butt, do our bridges, we go straight up, and then look, try to get our shoulder past. Then we're going to come up, we're going to do our circles here, right? So remember, I want to keep my hips off the ground enough that they're able to move freely. Then I switch directions, which is always awkward, and then we do our windshield wipers. Right? And then we started talking about shrimping for one, right? So when we shrimp, remember that I'm here, and I'm getting my butt off the ground. Now, I'm making a bigger gesture about it than it actually is, right? But my weight needs to be here, and it needs to be on my foot. So it's okay, if you have a little bit of slide here, but I don't want to be trying to drag my ass across the mat. So either my butt is on the ground or my shoulders. So I'm here, butt's off the ground. Shoulders and heels are off the ground. Butt, shoulder, right? Then we started going into various rolls. Now, one thing that it came up in our classes, but we didn't really do it in the warm-up, is on this back roll, you can also go all the way through. Right? And you come up into this position all the way through there, right? And we needed that for like when we did the guillotine, from that kind of head-to-head, we're both laying in this kind of like we're looking at the stars together type thing, and then you would roll over and get that guillotine here. We'll go over that here in a minute. So, you have all those. Now we started talking about shoulder rolls. Remember that whenever we're doing those back rolls, we're doing shoulder rolls, that we're trying to keep the pressure on the shoulders, not on the neck, right? So we have, this bottom 4/4 shoulder roll. So I take one hand, and I drop my shoulder all the way to the ground, and I look direction I want to go, I chuck my chin, and I keep pressure off my neck. See, I can pause here, I can take all the time I want. Now, if you want to from here, you can practice just getting to that position of rolling forward. Okay? Oh, sorry, wrong roll. So I get here, all the way over to the other side, all the way over to the other side. Now, that's going to be kind of more of your Gambi roll. And then we have our shoulder rolls from here, right? We get into this butterfly position, cross legs, or whatever you want. And I take my hand, go behind my back, and I hit that shoulder roll there, right? And remember, these are actually rather important. And we also have an Imanari roll, which I don't think we've really covered yet, because I think I've mentioned it, but I don't think we really covered it, which is going to be like, if I'm in kind of this position or whatever, or somebody standing, I can hook here, and then you kind of spin on your shoulders. But the difference between that and the other ones is that instead of rolling from shoulder to shoulder, you're kind of doing this breakdancing circle on your shoulders, right? But we'll get to that a little bit more when we have a partner, because that's when we're actually going to be able to use those Imanari rolls, which are usually going to be, they're going to be in the leg lasso omoplata, which I've alluded to but haven't shown you yet. And
you'll use them. There's a really cool sweep, I call it the breakdancing sweep, but it's an Minari roll sweep that leads into some pretty good foot attacks, or leg attacks and whatnot. So, that should be pretty much what we've shown you as far as our warm-ups go. Other things that you can throw in there, guys, if I'm here, I can practice those sit-ups. Those are showed up into our workout videos. That's going to be a good way for you to start to escape from the bottom, from bottom four quarter. There's also some side control escapes that are going to use kind of that position. But remember, the big thing that we're trying to do there is, remember, we're trying to be mobile on the mat, right? So single point of pressure for most techniques. When we're rolling through our shoulders, the pressure's on the shoulders, not on our neck, etc. Now, yes, it's a lot of stuff, so I want to make sure that we go through everything. So we talked about all the different positions, right? So I'm going to do this a little bit out of order. I'm going to go ahead and go into our guard breaks that we talked about, right? So I'm here. I've taken this guard position. I put my my position in the guard is that my shoulders are forward, my tail's tucked like a scared dog, my back is rounded as fuck, which is why I've got such horrible posture that I'm still trying to correct, right? So up here, right, when I go for this guard pass, I'm going to tuck my tail like a scared dog and then I rise straight up. Now, I do see people come up a little bit and kind of push their weight forward a little bit, but what you don't want is you don't want to come up this way, right? You don't want to be dropping your shoulders down lower than your hips. So I'm going to raise my shoulders up as my hips raise up, putting pressure on his hips so that he can't follow. Knee behind the butt, drop back, bring in, come into that combat base. The second one we did, right, is especially like if he's being light on his hips but heavy on his legs, when I start to come up and he's being really aggressive about that, he's getting his hips off the ground, that knee cut's not going to work, right? So I switch and I create this post. So his legs are still locked up around my hips, but I'm here. I lock out my shoulder, twist, 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 come down, hit that combat base. Now from here I'm going to start trying to establish a side control position. So he might be here, he might be framing, he might be doing something, but I'm going to bring his leg to the ground, which is usually going to tilt him a little bit to my side. I'm going to reach for head control, and I'm going to drop my shoulder into his chin. I'm going to take my hand and block his hip, bring my other leg through, and then I connect my knees to his shoulders and his hips, right? So this is going to be your side control position. Now, if I want to go into that crossbody position, right, I bring my hand over to this side, I'm cupping his shoulder. Remember, he's still in the prayer position, but it's kind of hard because he's a dummy. So I'm here, I pull his head up here, and I rest it on my knees. So this allows me to go for, this elbow wipe Kimura, right? Remember, when I go for this Kimura, I want to drop my leg, put my knee on his forehead, and then I'm here, and I'm bringing this in and bringing it in the best way, like I'm trying to put his hand in his back pocket, right? So, and that's going to be your Kimura from there. If he starts to straighten out his arm, right, I want to point his thumb up to the ceiling and keep this figure four grip, and then I just curl both wrists, and that's going to be a straight arm lock, right? If he continues to go, or if he's able to turn his wrist this way, I might post my fist into the mat, and I might push on him until he gets into this position. I'm going to grab at his around his pinkies, right? So I'm kind of getting a good grip around his hand, right? And I bring my hand underneath, and then I curl both wrists and move down towards his hip, scraping his back of his hand against the mat. If I want to, I can also take this grip, right, where I go pinkies down, right, and I curl both and do the same thing. If you can't get that curl immediately, don't worry too much about it. We get to here, and then we hit the curl there, right? And that's going to finish that Americana very fast, right? So, we're here in this side control position, right? I can grab his shoulder on this side. I'm going to grab his tricep on this side. I'm going to start to drop my hip into his thigh and drop down, and now I'm into the switch base. Remember, the advantage of the switch base is I've got my leg mobile here, so if he tries to sit up on me, I've got this to post so I don't have a dead angle here, right? So if he does start to extend his arms, I can start to wipe back and can step over. I can hit the step over arm bar here, right? That's one of those great things that are here. If he starts to kind of push into me, I can push back, right? And I can trap over here, bring my foot over the top. From here, I'm going to straighten my leg. He's usually going to come up this way. If I want to, I can use this foot to force the issue, or I can use my hand, right? I've got this free hand. That's what's so great about this position. So now I'm kind of in the scarf shoulder lock position. I try to keep that space closed. Maybe I'll use my hand to hold on to him. And I'm going to step over. From here, I'm going to walk my foot in, and then I'm going to lift my hips and then attack that shoulder, right? Also, if he's pushing off here, right, I can take this arm out. I can go under his head, block his elbow. I want to be on the tricep side of the elbow. I push, drop down, kick my leg back, I drop out, I start to move away from him, and I skydive here, right? I want to make sure that my neck is pushing in to his shoulder at the level of his artery. This elbow is on the ground, and I start to bring my ear, like he's saying something very interesting that he's whispering to me, right? So I'm bringing my ear over and turning into him as I move away, or I can put my toes into the mat and start to push myself forward and start to turn that corner a little bit to get that second finish. All right? Now, if I'm in that side control position, he's trying to frame up here, I can do the same thing. So I've already got this underhook here. I pass here, boom. Okay? I'm gonna put my hand on the ground next to him, and I'm gonna come up into that handstand, right? Boom. And I come down beside him, and I finish the same way. Okay? So, if we want to, we can also slide our leg through and get into this scarf hold position. Again, I have the same attacks as I did from that switch-based position. And this is why you would have that scarf shoulder lock and whatnot. I tend to like this one quite a bit, but just because I feel like I have better connection and it's easier for me to get some of those attacks. But that being said, if he starts to turn away and frame off of me, he can sit up, and I've got a dead angle back here that I can't really protect without switching to that switch-based position, right? So, from here, if I get into this scarf hold position, I can also start to transition to that north-south position, right? So all I'm gonna do is step over, bring my foot, my knee next to his head, put my palms on his chest, palm down, sink my thumbs underneath his arms, and pin him to his chest. I sprawl out, and I try to keep my hips low, and I drive in, and he should start to lift up. This should be really uncomfortable for him. Now, I can use my hips, right, and drop him and turn him. Now I can bring my leg in, boom. And usually from here I can get that arm. I can step this leg over, come into this position, glue his elbow to my chest, sit up, and there's Kimura there. If he's grabbing on and I can't get that free, I can always start to turn that corner and drop my arm behind his head and get that head and arm choke from here as well, right? So, I know I didn't cover that, but that's there. Just because it's one of those things that's really, really hard to demonstrate without a partner, but it is there. All right. So, from here, right, I can hook his hip and drop my elbow down, put my hand on his shoulder, and then I can slide up into this knee ride position. A lot of times when I get into this knee ride position, my foot's going to be hooked under his butt, right? My knee is going to be going right into his diaphragm. It's right here in his solar plexus. If you're being nice to your partner, you can do it as more of a seatbelt position. When I'm in knee ride, my head is within the four corners of his body, right? I'm not out here, I'm not up here. Even out here is problematic. Now I do have a post on this side, right? So he's not gonna be able to knock me off, but my weight is gonna shift off of him and he's gonna be able to scoot away a lot easier because I'm outside on that side. So I wanna be kind of within this box. Now from here, if he were to say, which is going to be the first thing that people are going to do, start pushing on my knee here, I'm going to hook on the inside of his armpit here, I'm going to pull him up onto his side, step around, put my knee into his armpit, drop down, pinch my knees together, I'm driving my heels in. If he's too far in, I get this figure four, I push him away and scoot myself in, okay? 5 points to an arm bar, right? Boots on, heels in, knees together, hip penetration, top of the lever, drop down, and now I'm going to bring it over this side, right? Because this side's closest to his hips. He's going to be trying to sit up, so I'm going to lift this hip up, which anchors this hip onto the ground, and then I hit that arm bar, right? Remember, my thumb is in his palm, stopping his wrist from moving, right? Now, on that same note, right, he's going to be squirming around here. He's going to be trying to turn into me and trying to get out from underneath. So if I'm here, right, I'm going to put two hands on the ground, put two heels into my butt, and come in and take the knee right on this side and this side. We did that in one of the workouts recently, and it's a very good drill to do. It's what's going to make the knee ride really, really killer is the fact that you can just keep moving around and they can't get you off of them, right? So they're taking the weight, they're moving around, they're using a lot of energy. It takes almost nothing to do this, right? So I'm going to put my hand on this hip, right? And I'm gonna bring my knees together, PB dance. I take this hand, put it where that hand was, step around, watching the head. I don't want to kick him in the head, and I get into this position, hand on the shoulder, hand on the hip, right? Again, thump, 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 switch side knee ride. Now, he might start to try to stop me from doing that by maybe extending this arm out. Maybe he's trying to push on this hip. Not a really great idea for him, but some people will try to do that when they've been burned by this arm enough times, right? So I can take this arm up, lace through, trap his arm, and then belly forward for that bicep slice, right? I could grab this wrist, pull it as high as I can, slide my foot underneath his armpit, bring my leg over on the other side, okay? Heels in, knees together, hip penetration, that's already happened hopefully. If it hasn't, I can rotate, scooch in, pinch your knees together, come back down, break over this hip this time, the one that's closest to his hip, keeping this hip down, this hip up, pull from the top of the lever, right? So, from here, he's in this prayer position, I'm using this to bring his arm down to the side. I start to bring my chin to his elbow, but I don't want to cross yet. I'm going to sink down my body. Now I cheat a lot of times and I just go ahead and I swivel that other foot in. I might get burned by that eventually, but it's probably better to come down and actually establish this kind of side control position. I windshield wiper my foot in, right? So, up here, in, post out. Now from here, I can bring back, I can start to gather up that arm, and go to that bicep slice there, right? Now, from here, I can hold on to the wrist, and I can sit through, sit onto his chest. Now, from here, I've got this wrist, I'm gonna keep it that whole time. I can post on his hip, and I can swing over his head, or I can post this way, swing around this way, get into that armbar position, finish the armbar from here, make sure you get that hip penetration and all that. If I'm in that position, he starts to sit up on me, start to roll me, right? I like to get into this position. I'm pitching here, I'm going to capture his head, I'm going to roll over, I'm going to hit that triangle. Or I can just scooch off and dump, and now I'm into that omoplata position, making sure that, of course, my shoulders are in front of my hips the whole time, right? Now, I am passing his guard. He's turning onto his side, and he's making this good frame. So, whether or not I get the second leg through doesn't matter a whole lot. It does prevent me from getting the anaconda, right? So, it is best if I keep this block here, get this out before I clear this other leg, right? So, I come under, and if I'm shallow, I keep my arm low. I grab around my bicep. A lot of times I'll go like this, guys. I'll go palm up, grab my tricep, come here. It's going to be tighter if I do that. Now remember, I need to get the artery on both sides. So I'm going to use my chest to drive his shoulder. So I need to pay attention that his arm, his elbow, is in parallel with my sternum, right? And I get underneath him, and I start to lift my arm up as I kind of pinch in. So the arteries are on the anterior quarter of the neck, just past center, right? So I need to be going back and in. So when I come up, I need to be bringing that blade of my arm upward. Now, if I get deeper, and the way I'm going to get deeper is I'm going to start looking up, right? That's going to allow me to get my elbow all the way through. Now I'm going to be using my bicep to cover that side of the artery, right? I'm going to grab, same way. Now I bring my hand all the way up to that tricep. Now I sprawl out, and I didn't mention this a second ago, but I did in the main video, is that my weight mostly is going to go straight down, and then I'm going to use my toes to drive in just a little bit. But you don't want to drive in too much because you're going to be putting your pressure more towards the elbow, right? And then I can start to look up if I need to really kind of finish that, right? So if he's blocking me from getting that arm all the way through, I can take my other arm, slide it through, and get to this, we're looking at the sun sort of position. Now, I finish up my triangle here, and I get him back on his side, and I start to walk in, pressuring on his head, and that's going to give me that anaconda choke. Now from here, I grab my blade here, I hip up, and I put my hip onto his head, basically, right? And I'm going to be really tall here. I'm going to roll over the shoulder, so I need to clear a path, and I look, I flip, put my palm onto my chest, and then I belly up. And there's going to be your one-arm guillotine. All right. So. All right. So we. Oh, yeah. So we get into this darts. He puts his arm on my hip side, right? To try to defend that darts. I won't be able to finish it like this anymore. So I'm going to take my leg. I'm going to step over, and I'm going to try to keep it close to the ground. So even if it's here, I'm going to slide under the ground until I get under his head, and I'm going to fall off onto the side. I'm pinching his elbow here, and I'm bringing that bottom leg over the top leg, right? I don't want to be this way because it's going to be really easy for him to shuck off. This is going to be much harder. I'm using my shin to keep his head pointed towards me. I'm going to take my fist, and I'm going to hold his wrist in. Grab his shoulder, bring my elbow up, up, up. Say hello, yes, that's my crotch in your armpit. Okay, so from here, I'm keeping this heavy, right, all the way through that, especially that shuffling in, and I'm going to take my leg out, and I'm going here, right? So I'm keeping that nice and heavy. I walk out, Notice the 90-degree bend in my leg. So once my thigh, my femur is directly as close to the elbow as I can get it, I start to pinch my knees together. I Suzanne Summers that together. Now, he's going to probably try to shuck this leg because he knows I need it to finish over his head. So once he does that, I put my boot on and I keep it straight, right? So now if he tries to sit up, I'm heavy. But he knows that sitting up is probably his only real defense here, and he's also probably looking at my back and going, ooh, that's open. So he's gonna be doing what he can to sit up. So once I feel that his head is off the mat, I bring my foot underneath and I point my toe down to the mat, boots on. So I'm toes on the mat. I'm not being lazy about that. I'm not putting the blade of my foot, I'm not putting my heel on the foot on the ground because that's not heavy. My toe causes internal rotation to my hip, keeping my knee down, and then I get that angle and I do the same finish. Right, so before we move on, guys, we talked about a few concepts of escaping, right? And the main point that I wanted to get at, and I'm not going to go into any more detail on this today, but is that we are looking at how the person is connected to us the whole time, right? Pressure connection, how they're rooted into the floor, right? I kind of went too fast with that with your positions, but so let's go ahead and do that really quick, right? So, my connection in side control is this arm underneath, right? And maybe this, right? So it's being a block, it's gonna be a block connected through my knees. I'm rooted through my knees and probably actually rooted through my feet quite a bit here too because I've got such a wide base. I'm sinking my hips as low as I can. My pressure is my chest on his chest on the near side, right? I'm driving my shoulder into his chin so he can't turn into me, right? When I get into this position, this crossbody position, it's my chest on his chest. My connection is with his head. It's with this right here, but I can move that because I've got the head connection. I'm rooted into the floor through my elbows and through my knees, right? From this switch base position, my pressure is coming from my hip on his hip, or more onto this space between the bones, right? My connection is my elbow pinching in, so I'm pinching through here. I'm rooted through the floor, mostly through my hips, kind of through my legs, right? So if I'm not rooted into the ground with my hips aren't touching the ground the whole time, he can start to turn in and he can get that knee underneath me. So it's kind of the same deal here, right? When I get into this scarf hold position, my pressure is about the same here, but I'm pushing my shoulders forward so he can't push me back as easily, right? My connection is the same. I've got this grip here. Pressure, connection, rooted into the floor through my hips, right? Knee ride. Pressure. My knee. My connection. My foot, right? My hands. I'm rooting into the floor through this foot, but I'm actually kind of rooting more into him, right? But I have to be careful because if he starts to turn away, I need to be able to adjust my pressure, right? If he turns in, I need to be able to adjust my pressure. So I'm following, and usually that adjustment of pressure is actually going to be me switching which side I'm on a lot of times, right? So that's going to be that. Now, we also talked about getting into, from side control, I have this, I bring my elbow to this side, I roll my hip, I try to get my hip under that arm, right? And so I can either step over into the mount by gathering his legs together. If he's framing, I can pull on his ankle and push on it to get him to stop framing. I can also take my foot, drop my knee as wide as I can, lace it through, Superman out. When I'm in the low mount, my feet are off the ground, so my pressure is with my hips on his hips. my connection is actually this, right? It's my feet between his legs, and they're connected together. They're not grapevine, because if he were just straight out his leg hard, I would lose that grapevine really easily and probably break my ankle. So I'm not going to do that much. I might do it if he's trying to bridge me off, right? It's going to kill his bridging power, right? And it's going to keep me connected, but I'm only doing that temporarily, right? So I'm here. Now, if I wanted to, I could start to hook his head from this position. I can grab my own bicep and go for that, that box choke. But usually the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to have my head against his head, and I'm going to be very low here, right? So he doesn't know what I'm doing, so he's going to be trying to escape. He's going to be worried about that. I'm going to get here, and then I move both at the same time. I might even connect to my own chin and feed that over, and then I can finish that box choke there. So from here, I bridge up, I put my hands on his hands, which should be folded on his chest. I come into this mid-range mount position. From here, I can start to like feed my arm underneath his arm, grab his shoulder, slide up, bring this leg around. I get here, I get this triangle grip. If I can roll him a bit on the side. I smell his knee, flick my leg out, drop down, and there's that arm bar. Right? Another way that you can get it. So I'm here, I underhook here, right? I'm gonna underhook on this side, right? I might use my hand to block on this side, right? I have to be really careful here because he can actually start to bridge me. I don't want to have my hands too committed that I can't post, right? And I want to be ready, because I'm in a mid-range mount now, to start to be able to post if I need to. So I bring my elbow above his shoulder and I slide my knee up, okay? And then from here, I can slide in the S-mount position. Pretty much the same thing that we just did there, but now instead of using my hand to grab his shoulder to bring myself up, I've used my elbow to block that shoulder, and I've used my knee to separate the elbow from his body. Now, I might, from this mid-range mount, I might start to try to get this arm off, and I go for that Americana, right? He's going to try to defend that by rolling up onto his side. So I take my arm underneath his head, I grab, and I get this figure 4 grip, I slide up, I pull my heel into his belly, I roll him onto his side, and I drop my hips down and then in, so that I get into this nice, strong side mount position, right? Now, from here, if I wanted to, I could flatten him back out. I can start going for a head and arm choke if you want to. That's totally there. I can also just drop my weight. Notice I collapse his leg so my hip can be heavy on his hip. I like this better than trying to keep my weight on my own post. So I put my weight onto him, I look at his knee, bring that leg over to the side. It should be really light because my weight's all on the other side, right? And then I can go for that arm bar there. Yeah, arm bar, box chokes, okay. So, yeah. So when you get into like this mid-range or high-range mount, my pressure is my hips onto him, my connections with my legs underneath his armpits, and I'm rooted into the ground through my knees. But, you know, if he's starting to buck, I just want to ride that. I'm trying to keep my shoulders above my hips, between my heels and my knees the whole time. So if I am letting myself be projected forward, there are some escapes that he can start to do from there. So I really want to kind of keep my shoulders above my hips that whole time. All right? And then there's more stuff that we can go into. We'll go into that when we get into escapes later. So, going into the mount, or into the guard, right? I know we talked about getting to back mount, and we talked about all that. Well, let's go ahead and do that really quick, right? So, the key things for back mount, right? My heels are between his legs, and I've got my my boots on, but I'm not crossing my ankles, right? Because he can actually break them if I do that. I've got this seatbelt grip, so that means that one arm is over his shoulder, one's under his shoulder. Now, since my arm is under this shoulder, if I fall to the side, it's okay that my head is on the top side. But if I have a reverse seatbelt here, right, he's going to start to flatten out and turn up and turn into me. So I need to get my head under his head to block that path. Right? We did talk briefly about the rear naked choke. I know I'm crossing my ankles here, sorry. The other grip that I would recommend doing is you get your foot up and you hook on his top thigh, right? And I put my heel onto his hip. That's going to stop him from coming up, and it's much harder for him to hop over that and escape, right? So I'm here if I wanted to get that rear naked choke, right? I might have this wrist grip, I might have something. Usually what's going to happen is I'm going to start probably back out, get here, right? I'm going for this rear naked choke. He's going to start defending that, right? Or I'm going for it with this arm,
whatever, it doesn't matter too much right now. So if he starts to defend that, he's pulling my arm down, right? That's what everybody's going to do with that first arm. So I'm going to open up my leg, push back, and I'll put my top of my foot behind his body and pinch my knees to the back of his body so he can't get that arm back. Now I've got this kind of one arm defense thing. So I'm going to pull out, I'm going to make a little blade with my hand, go underneath his jaw, and I'm going to look the direction that I'm going, right? Because that's going to get me better penetration. I'm going to grab my own bicep. If I want to, I can turn up and rotate in and come here. But the problem with that is that people have this arm. They're going to prevent this from going in behind. So I can take my hand, bring it up behind him, and just lace this through. Now my palm is out, thumb down. And from here, I bring my elbows together, I do a crunch, and I implode. I don't explode because that's going to move the pressure from the neck into the jaw, and it's not going to be nearly as effective, right? So I've got this kind of grip. Maybe he still has both his arms, right? I'm trying to go for this. It's not really working. So I have this grip. I've got this dog paddle grip or whatever. I'm going to flick my arm over the top. I'm going to push on his head. I'm going to get to my angle, throw my leg over. Now I'm not pushing his head too much. I'm really just kind of framing against it so that he doesn't kind of follow me, right? I just want to keep him in place. If I push him too far away, I'm going to lose that shoulder penetration or hip penetration, right? So I get my boots on, boom, and there's that arm bar from the back mount. Oh no! He's going to lose his stuffing soon. You'd think for somebody that knows a lot of knots, I would have done a better job. Anywho. It's a lot of stuff, guys. Alright. So since I don't have something thick enough, I'm going to skip top recorder for right now. I mean, it's a good subject to have, but... Okay. So for whatever reason, we ended up in this guard. And remember, guys, when we're starting, and I forgot to go over that. We'll finish up with that. Remind me. You can't remind me because it's the video. Okay. So when I'm playing the guard, you know, he's going to be trying to frame up. He's going to be trying to open my legs, right? So my best way of kind of keeping him on his toes and keeping, not literally, but keeping him on the defensive is to focus on breaking his guard down. So I'm pulling my heels to my butt, and I'm bringing my elbows to my armpits, right? So I'm driving up like that. This is going to keep his posture down. It's going to keep him on the defensive. Now, if I wanted to, we can start to go for that entangled arm here, right? So he's usually going to be trying to frame up or whatever. I'm going to go outside in, right? And I can do both arms. That's fine. Sometimes I only need one. Maybe I just wipe this off that way. But maybe I go 2 hands in, right? If that's easier for you to remember. So both in, bring my knees to my chest, get my head off the center line, hold back of his neck. I bring my elbow to my knee, right? Because I want to close up that space. Elbow to knee, and then I lace through, boom. And I start to frame onto here, right? I flick over, keeping that grip there, and I draw my elbows in. Now, from here, right, I could start to catch that angle, I could throw my leg over, and I can get that armbar there, right? So there is a path to that armbar there. I can also back my hips out, put my knee into his bicep, put my foot into it there, and start to slide up and start to set up that triangle position, right? I can also start to push off, come up into that omoplata there, right? So there's all kinds of things that you can do off of that entangled arm position. Right? So, for kind of more traditional armbar, I feed under, I grab his elbow, and I pull into my chest, right? I break his posture down, and I grab onto his shoulder. Now, I'm going to put my boot on this guy, keeping myself heavy. I'm going to start to catch that angle, throw my leg over the top, and finish the armbar there. Now, if he starts to posture up and do whatnot, and he gets this arm out, I can flip onto my other hip like this, throw my leg over, and I can hit that Kung Fu armbar there, right? Or, I could, if we back that out, I could go back, and I could do a triangle on this side, right? Or, I've got this arm, he pulled that out, I can keep going around this way, and then I've got the omoplata. Alright, so if I wanted to, I can go, and if he's framing off my belly, I can go here, I can pass my arm up, and then I'm going to turn over near his shoulder, rolling his shoulder down, right? I feed with the lifting of that arm and that shoulder, his palm
onto my shoulder, right? He should be thumbs down here, guys. That's gonna be the natural position. And I'll hold it like I'm holding a cell phone. So I'm pitching up this way, and I'm get under my side, put my foot on his hip, come out to the top of the lever. Now, right? I put my foot on his hip, my knee is at his shoulder. I get this gable grip, right? And I'm gonna start to turn. So it's bottom hand on the top, and I'm gonna turn in and dig into his elbow, right? So I find the tricep side of his elbow, and I dig it in, and I'm gonna start looking down. So I wanna have this big space here. If I'm still underneath him, I can't finish this arm bar. So if he were to start to escape this hand out, right, I can always come down, belly down. Now for the belly down, I'm holding his hand, right, I'm keeping his thumb down to the mat. So it's just like a regular arm bar that I am putting my thumb into his palm like that, right? So I keep his thumb down. I'm gonna sprawl my knees out and stay heavy there, right? Now, he might try to start to defend this. He might start trying to weasel out of it. So I might want to go to a standard arm bar. So from here, I just keep my boots heavy on his head, and I start to drop my hip. Boom. And I drive his head into the mat. And what that's going to do is it's going to encourage him to start to forward roll. He might not even have a choice because his body's going to follow his head, right? I bring down to this hip, I lift up, and I finish that arm bar from the standard position. See, I'm barely even referring to my notes, guys. Right. So, I break his posture down, right? But he's like really trying to build up. He's really trying to frame up, stop me from doing that. So I'm going to open my guard, and I'm going to put my feet in, but I'm going to pitch my knees up. I'm going to roll up, and I'm going to scoop my hips out. I want to go out as far as I can, and I start to cave in my belly, right? So I've got plenty of space to come through here. Now I'm going to grab palm back to my body over the blade of my hand, which is also palm back, and I get this grip. I throw my elbow over the top and I glue it on top of his shoulder. I glue this shoulder on the back of his neck, right? I close up my guard and I implode. I don't explode. I don't really extend out because, again, that's going to divert pressure from the neck into the jaw, and I don't want that, right? Sometimes maybe this arm's in the way, it's wrapped around my body, and I want to go for this arm in guillotine. Now, I've already backed out. Now, one thing I didn't say, and I'd like to correct that now, is that I can, from here, I can back my body all the way out, right? So once I get backed out, you see this foot's posted out, this foot is going to slide back in as I drop back, keeping my elbow glued in. So I'm keeping that pinch there a little bit, guys. I'm trying to keep my elbow further in, right, than my palm, right? Same thing with that regular guillotine. I need that penetration. I'm going to drop back, put my foot on his hip, and I throw this other leg on, and I pinch, and then I start to implode. And that's going to be your arm in guillotine, right? So, and that's going to be the way that you're actually going to be able to hit that from the guard. You're probably going to be too tight to be able to just move your feet into the right position. But you need to be on your side in order to finish that one, all right? So, I sit up. He blocks me. I come over here, I grab his arm, I pinch it into my body, and I start to drive my hips up and in, and I rotate into the mount. But he weasels this arm out, right? And he posts on the ground. So I grab his wrist, I get onto my side, I turn into it, I lace into this figure 4 position. I keep my the other leg underneath his jaw, if I can. Right now it's under his armpit, and that might be fine. I actually tend to prefer it a little bit further out if I can get it, right? So if you can just get it under his shoulder, that's great. This one's heavy, and I start to turn that corner, and I look the direction that I want to go. And that is your Kimura from the guard. Now, I think that's about where we went with that one. So, from here, I broke his posture down. I've got this elbow here, right? He's got his arms in, right? He's trying to be protective, right? I'm gonna scooch out, and I put my knee over across him like a seatbelt, right? So I'm at that diagonal, right? I'm going to sit up, and I'm gonna do a low row here with my arms. So I'm gluing him to my body. I'm pitching my elbow in on the other side, very tight, so I keep this arm over here trapped. I drop my leg to the side, I look where I want to go, and I just kind of kick him off. The key to that, guys, is that as I fall back, I'm loading him onto me. We are connected, we are one unit, and then so when I roll, he rolls, right? I'm not trying to just throw him, right? In fact, we should keep some connection there. Now, I get to that position,
and he takes this arm, he pushes my knee down, so now I don't have that leverage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab his wrist, pull through, sit up, grab his armpit. Now we're connected. I'm going to roll back, and then I start to move my body this way, right? And he's going to fall, and then I'm going to come up to whatever position I come up into, right? So that's going to be reverse scissor sweep. But I get that position. He bases out, and I can't move him, right? So I got that. I can't move it. So I'm going to bring my leg in, hip out. I'm going to move my hand to his hip, keep moving out. If I can block his outside leg, I will. And I'll pull him into my lap, and I'll take the back mount, right? Or if he's still basing out and I can't pull him, I just step up into the back mount, right? So. Oh, yep. My favorite one. Why did I miss this? Okay, so get into that scissor sweep position, right? He pushes down on my knee, right? So I respond by bringing my leg out to the outside, and I push that knee in, and I clear it. And then I come up into the triangle. Remember, I want to get my hips high on this side, and then I've got my legs straight, and then as I start to hook the back of his head, I'd move my hips onto the other side, connecting my knee to my ankle here, right? And so I'm going to grab here. Now, usually from here, I'm in a really, really good position. This should be pretty close to perfect, right? I throw my leg over the top. If I need to, I come up underneath his legs, and I cricket my legs together. Right? We're almost there, guys, I think. All right, so we got that knee wipe triangle, right? Okay, so I get this triangle position. And he starts to take this arm and he starts to escape it out through my crotch. He's going hands first. So I lace my arm through, grab my own thigh. I'm probably going to be holding on to his leg here, like just an inside thigh ride, so just palm out. I'm going to throw my leg over the top. I'm going to put my boots on. I'm going to get really heavy here. I'm going to bring my hand out to his hip, and I start to scooch out, and then you got that brada plata. Now, if I want to be really illegal here, I'm going to throw my legs over the top, and I'm going to squeeze into that bicep slice there, right? So, if he tries to defend that triangle from here by hooking my leg, I just swim into that omoplata. If he starts to sit up and build his posture, I'm going to triangle my legs, throw it underneath his shoulder, and then I'm going to start to straighten out here. So, the flower sweep, guys. Really, really, really basic sweep here, right? So, really, all I need for this one is I need to have this arm trapped so he can't post, right? So I might drag this across and trap it with my body. Oh, I didn't do the body lock sweep, guys. Let's do that first, right? So move this over, right? Sit up, grab his armpit, scooch back under his body, pivot, and throw my leg up. Boom. And remember with this one, guys, I want to put my toe over here, right? Toe down. So straight leg, toe down, and that's going to give you that sweep, and then I come up into the mount. But if he's, for whatever reason, he's fighting that, I can just throw my leg over, and there's the armbar there, right? So, flower sweep, same kind of concept here, right? I need to be blocking this arm from posting in whatever way I can. Now from here, I just need to catch my angle. I go very straight. I put that toe down, and then I parachute into the mount, right? So, that's your flower sweep. Went over that, went over that, went over that, went over that. Oh, I know I forgot something there. Alright, well you guys will remind me hopefully, or you'll just be like, I have no idea what he was missing there. Okay, so elevator sweep, right? So, we kind of went over this butterfly guard stuff, so sorry I missed that. So I'm going to grab his wrists however I can. I'm going to get it on my side, I'm going to bring the top leg in, put it into his bicep, switch over to the other side, keeping my knee heavy, bring my knee into the bicep, and I get into this butterfly position, right? So from here, I can start to, move him around. I can start to go for my lasso guard, so I can hit the omoplata here. But usually what we talk about is just put my foot into the bicep. I stretch him out here, guys. Spider guard is actually, because I'm doing like a little monkey paw with my foot here, is really, really hard to escape. So I can just kind of point my toe, whoop, he falls into that triangle, right? So there's that guy. Now, in the course of this, I might end up putting my hooks in. Maybe he's being really good at defending this. Maybe he's being a pain in the ass in the spike guard. So I put both my legs down, I got my hooks in. He goes into this ice block position where he's stopping my hips from moving because he's been really pissed off with everything I'm doing. So I'm going to sit up. I'm going to get this guillotine grip, right? Now, grab the blade in my hand and all that. I'm going to straighten a leg out. I'm going to come back in. Now my knee's behind his butt. This is going to be an active hook on him. I'm going to look over my shoulder. I'm going to bridge up, and I'm going to follow him over in that position, and I arch up and I get that one-arm guillotine. Now, we get into that triangle position, right? What is he going to do? He's going to start building his posture up, right? So the ways that we're going to deal with that, I gave you two ways. First, we're going to angry baby the hell out of there, right? And that's going to break his posture out, right? So that's just the shoulder roll, trying to move myself away from him and increase the length and the weight of me. I'm going to take this foot out, and I'm going to put it underneath his inside hip, and then I'm going to be able to start to squeeze and stretch out, and that's going to become a little bit of a spinal lock. All right?
I said there was something I was going to go back to, and I haven't. I forgot what it was. You guys were supposed to remind me. So we talked about different top control, how to do top control, what warm-ups we do, what drills I want you to be doing so that you guys can maintain. Remember, I also did that video with the chair. Those are very, very important drills, especially for when we get into that butterfly spider guard and all that, guys. We'll get into that omoplata that I keep mentioning from that lasso guard, and the other things that you can do with that at another point. I forgot to mention with that that crucifix position where we got that funky shoulder lock. You can also straighten out your legs and you can get a head scissor there. That's pretty secure. Oh! Got into this triangle position, guys, and he weaseled this arm out because he wants to escape. I immediately react, palm up, grab my own ankle. Alright, boots on, boom, and I finish it just the same way. That's the no arm triangle. There's one thing I forgot to give you guys. We did the body lock stuff, we did kung fu, we got flower sweep, hook sweep. Oh, we didn't get the hook sweep.